Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Slam Talk Sports. Where on earth have I been? I hear what you're asking. I've got the answer. I've been busy. I've been working away at the EDFL. I've been making content for GOAT Fantasy. I've been making 2 million view videos for Slam Talk Sports. I've had a little bit going on. But you know, I was always going to show up when it came to the SuperCoach Finals. You know I am a proven finals performer. And we are knocking on the door of August. It is time to prove our worth in our favourite fantasy game. It's nice to be back. It's nice to be back with the Slam Talk Sports community. It's been a couple of months since I did my last podcast. I think it might have been a little bit of Supercoach talk with my great friend Jack, a little bit of Brisbane Lions talk with my very, very good friend Eli Duxon, and also just some general talk about Essendon sacking their coach, Brad Scott, a couple of months ago. I haven't been with you since then on the podcast platforms, but I'm back with you today, and it's time to talk about Supercoach Finals. But before we do that, you know where to find me. It is Slam Talk Sports on TikTok, on Instagram, on X, and we're growing. We're growing across multiple platforms right now, but we need to grow more. You need to like all my videos, all my content, anything that has my name on it, please. I'd very much like to eat this week. In all seriousness, I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful for all the support that's been shown to my page and to my content over the last couple of weeks. We'll continue to grow in the back end of the AFL season. It's nearly finals time in the EDFL. We're a month away from the AFL final. It's time to get down to business and follow Slam Talk Sports wherever you can. Let's talk about some AFL Supercoach. Now, it's finals time, and I'm in 5 Supercoach finals. I think I did pretty well this season. The only league I didn't actually make Supercoach finals was in the DV Cup. The DV Cup, which was run by my friend James. Congratulations, James. You just became a father as well recently. I didn't do very well. I came 11th, if you can see that. You can't see that. You should be able to see it in a sec. If you can see the league page up on the YouTube, I'll just try and get it up now. Not displaying at the moment, but I did come 11th in the DV Cup. But otherwise, I had a pretty good season. I came... Well, where did I come in pegs, which is my main league, the one I've been playing for the last about 15 or so seasons. I came 4th in the home and away. I'll play my good friend Jack in the first qualifying final. I came top in the younger dries. Came 15-4 was my record there, going for my second title in 3 seasons. In Supercoach Elite, run by my good friend Luke Cotoggio, dropped the full name there. I came top of the ladder. I'm going for back-to-back premierships in that one. In Lads, another cash league, I came 3rd, going for back-to-back premierships in that one as well. And in Super League, I've won 2 of the last 4 seasons. I've snuck into 8th just because I've got a good points for. So I'm hoping to win another premiership there, but it will be tough sledding from the 8th position. Now, what do I do with this team? With this team, what can be done? There's only 4 weeks left in the season. People don't have trades, myself included. I have 2 trades left for the season. Yes, 2 trades, but I'm also a Finn Callaghan owner. So really, I have 1 trade. What we're going to figure out today is how to trade Finn Callaghan and what the best option is if you've got 1 trade, if you've got 2 trade, and you have less than $500,000, because unfortunately for Finn Callaghan owners, he's only $465,000. We bought him cheap and we got what we paid for. A couple of decent scores along the way, but realistically, he wasn't what we asked for. We knew what he had at the back end of last season, but he wasn't able to replicate that at all really this season. Injuries hit him to really end his season. He went 86 on the Swans, 79 against the Bombers, and 86 against the Cats. Some tags involved along the way. He wasn't tagged against Essendon, what was their worst loss of the season, and only dropped a 79-point performance in that one. So Callaghan, he had a nice stretch when he went 104, 144, 93, 103, 103, 104 over a 6-week period, but he's very inconsistent this season. I think Tom Green not being there really hurt them. Now you look at also Darcy Jones has missed the entire season recovering from that ACL. Sam Taylor missed months of that this season. I just don't think this Giants team was ever truly connected as a force this year. You get Green back. Oliver will be back in the fold as well. He's been pretty good this season. Taylor's hopefully healthy. Green leaves. Hogan leaves. Stringer potentially leaves. It's a different looking team. So I wouldn't write off Callaghan for next year, but this year things have never really quite clicked as a unit, and it shows with his scores there. He never really had a sustained run of form where you could have considered him a SuperCoach premium. Now, what do we do if we are looking to trade out Finn Callaghan this week? Well, I'm lucky. I've got $77,000 in the bank. I just traded out Max Holmes to Callum Mills. Realistically, that wasn't the right trade. I should have traded in Jake Bowie and kept that cash so I could get Bailey Smith. Bailey Smith would be top of the shopping list if you're looking at players to replace Finn Callaghan with, but that's a big jump. So Callaghan is $90,000 less than Bailey Smith. So not many people will have the trades or the ability to pull that move. If you're looking at the trades which have been done so far for Finn Callaghan, you can see there Errol Goulden, number 1, Nas 2, for Max Holmes, Isaac Heaney also brought in for Callaghan, and Bailey Smith, Jordan Dawson, Will Ashcroft, Isaac Rankin, and Hugh McCullough, all popular trade-ins for Finn Callaghan. Number 1 would probably still be for me Bailey Smith, even though it doesn't have the easiest matchup on Thursday against Collingwood, particularly with Ed Allen running a tag very effectively against a lot of teams so far this season. But I do think the consistency of Baslenka, pretty as consistent as the girls he's meeting up with on a regular basis. That Tinder partnership is working wonders for Bailey so far this season. But I do think in the Supercoach realm, Bailey is still someone you'd swipe right for because his scoring power is so high, he's so consistent, and he plays Essendon and he plays Richmond to finish this season. In the grand final, he plays Richmond and he plays Essendon next week. In between that, a matchup with North Melbourne and potentially Finn O'Sullivan tagging him. And also this matchup on Thursday night against Collingwood with Ed Allen potentially tagging him. But I just think he gets so much of the football that I probably wouldn't be fading against Baz if he didn't own him right now. Probably the nasty matchup of last week, at least in my opinion, is gone. He has 2 really soft matchups. If you've got one trade, Baz would be number 1 for Callaghan. Then I'd probably go with Lachie Neale just after that. Neale has a decent run home. Brisbane have to keep winning as well, so there's no incentive for him to rest in the rest of the season. I think he's playing for a contract. He's playing for a divorce. Let's be serious. Lockie's getting a divorce or a separation or whatever. He's going to be paying Jules some money, okay? So he needs to keep making money, which he has been this season. He's in my team, as you can see. He's been bloody good, particularly the last couple of weeks. He was my captain 2 weeks ago. I still think against Carlton, tag risk maybe a little bit, but Fraser hasn't employed a tag a lot this season, so I think Lachie Neale is a decent selection. And after him, probably Ed Richards, just based on his consistency. Now, Ed Richards is averaging 108 points this season. He just got 149, but it was on Richmond, so you can't really read too much into those big scores against the Tigers. What would I do if I had an option of Smith, Neale, and Richards? I'd go Smith, Neale, then Richards. I like Richards, but his matchups aren't as enticing as Neale's or Smith's, just as a whole. He had the easy matchup in playing Richmond last week. Now he goes to Perth to play Fremantle, plays North Melbourne next week. North Melbourne are probably dead already in this season. Still a slight chance of Finn O'Sullivan tag. Then he plays Carlton. Carlton are very much alive in this season. In round 23, they might be dead, but I still think that's not an easy matchup. Then finally, he plays Melbourne at the MCG. You'll say he scored 140 on Melbourne early in the season. This is at MCG. This is potentially to avoid a wildcard spot for both teams. So I don't think it's going to be an easy fill-up matchup for Ed Richards. I don't think it's as soft as the run for Jordan Dawson or Lachie Neale or Nas or Nick Dacos or Bailey Smith. That's just my opinion. Even though he's a very fine player, his run isn't as soft as other players I like in that sub 500k bracket. Now, at sub 500k, these are the players that are more like for like with Finn Callaghan if you've got one trade and no cash up your sleeve. Maybe 20 grand, 25 grand at best. I like Errol Goulden. Now, Errol Goulden missed a lot of this season with a shoulder injury. He missed a lot of last season with a broken ankle. He's up and running now. He just had 41 disposals last week, and I think that at 511,000, if you can get to Errol Goulden, he's a good shout because the matchups break perfectly for the Sydney Swans. Now, I've got Callum Mills, I've got Brodie Grundy, I've got Isaac Heaney, but I'm still considering Errol Goulden because he plays St Kilda, Port Adelaide, Essendon, and then North Melbourne. That's right, St Kilda Port Adelaide, Essendon and North Melbourne to end the season. The Sydney Swans have the softest run in Supercoach for the star players, and Errol Goulden is one of those stars. I think he could be the perfect replacement for Finn Callaghan this week in Supercoach. And I think that because Goulden's done it in the past, he's so consistent, he loves to kick the football, and the Swans were to get it into his hands. So Goulden at sub 500 or sub 515, I should say. He's not sub 500, he's 511,000. At that 515 or less bracket, if you've got a little bit of money up your sleeve, I think Goulden's the one. Otherwise, I don't mind Sam Walsh. Now, Sam Walsh is 23,000. He's a little bit more as well, but he seems to be hitting form ever since Michael Voss was let go by the Blues. You look at his averages really since about round 10. He's been super consistent apart from 2 bad games against Essendon and Richmond. How do you make sense of that one? Since around 11, he's gone 104 on Port, 104 on the Cats, 69 on Essendon, 112 on GWS, 122 on West Coast, 65 on Richmond, 125 on the Hawks, 122 on the Pies, and 125 on the Gold Coast Suns. That's good form. That's a player that I can trust right now. I think Sam Walsh, and what's an injury-free year, is a good replacement for Finn Callaghan. Otherwise, there's a couple of forwards that I don't hate. I don't mind Brad Hill, and I don't mind Zach Bailey. Personally, if I'm replacing a midfielder, if Callaghan's in my midfield, I want a midfielder. Just the deviation on a midfielder score is much lower than a forward. A forward's dirty day can easily be a 68. Well, a midfielder's bad day can be a 95. They just traditionally score more. Forwards, like a Brad Hill, who's playing as a wingman halfback, or a Cozzy Pickett, who's playing as a midfielder half forward, they can score really high. They can have absolute days out if they kick goals or they have 35 touches, obviously. But I do think a Cripps or a Walsh or a Goulden or even a Caleb Sarong or a Zach Merritt more consistent than these forward players like Cozzy or Bobby Hill or Chad Warner, who can give you big scores, but could also absolutely kill you in a Supercoach final. So those 500 to 515 players, I like Goulden, I like Walsh. Sarong's an interesting one. So Caleb Sarong missed a lot of the last 2 months due to a calf injury, wasn't it? I think he missed 4 weeks, or maybe 4 weeks, but maybe 3 games with that calf injury. Since then, he's been quite good, and the matchups aren't that hard for Fremantle. They've got the Dogs, the D's, the Crows, and the Blues. I mean, no matchup is really too hard for the Freo because they're so good, but my worry with Freo players is there a rest in there? So Freo are going to have a bye, obviously, because they're going to come top of the ladder. So they're going to have that bye when everyone else in the wildcard bracket plays. Then if they were to win this game, or so they'd win that qualifying final, they'd have another bye because they would have won their first final. So the question is, do Freo rest their players once more before that wildcard round bye? Now, they're not going to do it in the last game of the year because then they'd have 2 weeks off, potentially win that qualifying final, and then have 3 or 4 weeks where they're not playing. So the one game I think they could rest players is at home against the Adelaide Crows, and that's in round 22. Do you worry that a Jackson or a Sarong or a Brayshaw or a Tracy or a Bolton or a Reid or a Clark or a Ryan get rested that day? That's a little concern for me because Freo are so dominant and they're so far clear that they won't be resting in the last game, but they might rest in the second last game. That's something I'm just thinking about right now. We'll see how it plays out. So that's partially why I'm against Caleb Sarong. But also they played Melbourne in round 22 and Colton Tholstrup took him apart when they played early in the season, and he scored 68 points, which was one of his lowest scores in the early parts of the season. So I'm not that keen on him going against Tholstrup potentially next week. And also Adelaide, Carlton, they're neutral matchups. He's good enough to beat them, but I'm just not as excited. But yeah, Sarong's not a bad one. Just because so many people jumped off early in the season, I don't want any part in him, but he might come home quite strong. The draw is pretty neutral, and he's starting to show a little bit of form. That's probably everyone I'm seriously considering trading Finn Callaghan out for. Goulden, Walsh, Sarong, Cripps, Warner, Hill, all decent options. I'm still going to go with the out-and-out midfielders in your Gouldens, in your Walsh, and then maybe a Sarong. But I'd still have players like Isaac Rankin at the top of the tree, like the very, very top of the tree, if you have the option of trading Callaghan out for a forward, or there's a big hole in your forward line, you're getting away with someone at F6 who's just not getting the job done. I'm trying to think who's just not a good F6, because you're either got a Jack Watkins, or you've got a Campbell Lake, or you've got someone who's just nowhere near a premium score, or you've got a premium. So if the option is there to get Rankin, due to how easy his draw is, I'd be looking to get Rankin above maybe anyone, because he plays Essendon, because he plays Richmond again. He goes to Freo. He has to play Fremantle and Perth, I should say, in the prelim final. But then that home game, and that last game of the year, is at home to the Giants. They won't have Callaghan. Obviously won't have Green. Probably won't have Darcy Jones. Might not have Hogan. Might not have Stringer. Who knows if his career will still be going by then. And they'll have no hope, is the most important part, because they won't be playing for anything. And Adelaide will be playing for plenty in that round 24 game. So I could see them really filling up that day, which is why I like Rankin. And the other two matchups are Essendon and Richmond. I mean, they're fill-up days. So if you can get Adelaide player, I love Rankin, I love Dawson. I owned both already. Rankin's obviously that lot of risk due to what happened last year, due to suspensions, due to concussions, due to soft tissue injuries. However, once he is on the field, he is a nuclear weapon, and I would not want to be playing against him, particularly when he's playing Richmond and Essendon, and it already defeated the GWS Giants in the last round of the season. Those are my best options for Finn Callaghan. Players like Isaac Heaney, who I haven't really talked about, is simply not in form. He has an okay fixture home. I mean, he plays Essendon in the second last game of the year, but they might be managing him in-game. Heaney's done a lot of work this season. We got the good scores out of Isaac. However, in reality, since that Richmond game where he beat up on the Tigers, he hasn't done a hell of a lot this season. So I can't confidently tell you go get Isaac Heaney when the outside runners of a Warner and a Goulden, they're chopping up right now. They're better at the moment. And when it comes to Ruckman, Luke Jackson's not in form. Brodie Grundy showed form last week, but he hasn't been in form over the last couple of months. Max Gawn is the man. You should own Max Gawn. Is Max Heath coming in to give him a chop out? I don't know. So it's a bit fluid, the rucks, as we sit here on a Tuesday evening. But the midfielders I've talked about who I trust, I don't trust the forwards apart from Isaac Rankin because of his great matchups and because he owes Adelaide after what he did last season. Those are the best options for Finn Callaghan. Now, lastly, I want to talk about how you actually win your Supercoach League. Last year, I won 4 Supercoach Leagues. I've also won the Pegs League once before, and it's bloody hard to win. I'm telling you, I've been playing that league since about 2009, 2010. I've won it once, and I claim to know what I'm doing in AFL Supercoach. It's really difficult to win premierships, but if you listen to these things, I'm going to tell you it's going to be far, far easier. The first tip is going to be hard for you to stomach, but I've said it for months. Have trades. Please have 1 to 2 trades for finals. I know it doesn't always turn out that way. I know things get in the way, mainly injuries, suspensions, poor form, but you can't win a premiership without trades. It's simply not possible. Things will get in your way. You'll have bad fortune. I hope you have at least 1 to 2 trades to compete in the business end of the season. Number two, loop your players. You have to loop players when you have the opportunity. If someone plays on a Thursday or a Friday and they've got a Saturday 0, you need to loop those players. You need to make sure if there's a bad score, you don't wear it on field, and there's a really good score from an unproven player early in the round, you get it on your field. Any chance you can get to get a little bit of advantage in the finals, you have to take it. Loop your players. The third one, hide your captain. Hide him wherever you can. Hide him in the backyard and hide him in the back pocket. You hide him over at your mate's house. Don't let your opponent know who your captain really is until push comes to shove, until it's time to smack down. Layeth the smacketh down and go 1-on-1 in the big dance. Don't let them know what you've got up your sleeve. So say Max Gawn's playing on a Thursday or a Friday. Don't make him your VC until the game is about to start. Don't let them know, because then they're guessing. Then they're thinking about what's he doing when they should be thinking about what they're doing. It's all mind games. So much of sport, whether it's elite or fake, and I'm talking fantasy sport, is mind games. Don't show them your aces. Don't show them your cards until you've played them face up, okay? Then they'll know what they're truly dealing with. Hide your captain, but don't forget before lockout. You've got to be really, really on top of this. Because if you put the wrong captain on, don't blame Uncle Slam, okay? I'm just telling you, you've got to have a little bit of trickery, a little bit of imagination, a little bit of fantasy when it comes to your skipper in SuperCoach Finals. Target players with incentive to win. I'm talking about players playing for Adelaide or the Dogs or the Pies or the Cats who really need to win to ensure they play finals, to try and get out of those wildcard spots, and to make sure that their team has a successful season. And they've had a successful season. So clubs like North Melbourne or Essendon or Richmond or Port Adelaide, I'll just be avoiding as a whole, potentially even avoiding Fremantle a little bit as well, because they're not playing for anything. Essendon, Richmond, Port Adelaide, they're not playing for anything. Clubs in that middle bracket, they're playing for heaps. So if you can play against an Essendon or a Richmond or Port Adelaide or maybe even a GWS, that's great, because you want to play against teams that are already thinking about Cancun. They're already thinking about Bali. They're already thinking about the first slab they're going to chow down on after that last game of the season finishes. Okay, so target players with incentive. And lastly, karma. That's my last tip, karma. You got to be good to the gods, and the gods will be good to you, okay? Don't over-celebrate. Don't be arrogant. Stick to your guns. Trust your players, because the SuperCoach gods, they're unforgiving, and they will have their say in every matchup of the SuperCoach Finals. Don't anger them. Don't tempt them. Don't say anything to them. Just treat them with respect, because the gods talk to gods. They talk to Gorn. They talk to Dacos. They talk to Bontempelli, okay? So don't anger the gods, or the gods will come for you. Those are Slam's SuperCoach Finals commandments. That's it. It's good to be back on Spotify and Apple Podcast and YouTube. This was Slam Talk Sports. Very, very happy to be back on this platform. I'm going to be doing SuperCoach content throughout the rest of the SuperCoach Finals, because you know me. You know I care about the chips. Since when did SuperCoach become about scoring the most points? I mean, if you win the SuperCoach, you win the SuperCoach, I sound like such a boomer, you win SuperCoach overall, great. That's great for you. That's an incredible achievement. Come top 100, that's awesome. Besides that, I don't give a stuff. I know it's rude, I know it's wrong, but it's about winning titles. It's about winning premierships. Team sport is about winning at the ultimate level. It's not about scoring the most points. That's why Malcolm Blight didn't win any premierships at the Cats as a coach, because all they did was score points. They never defended. Got to the Crows, defense got a little better. He had Jarman kicking 5 goals in a quarter pretty much, and he had Rashudo, and he had McLeod. Okay, not a great analogy, but you understand what I'm saying. You need to play well in finals. You need to win finals. You need to win premierships to get the true respect in any team sport, let alone Aussie rules football. That's what we're trying to do. I'll update you over the weekend how we go, and it's time to win the big thing. It's time to win the premiership. It's time for SuperCoach Finals. And this was Slam Talk Sports.